Welcome to another episode of Ramblings and Randomness with Roth and Romelio. He's Roth.
He's Romelio.
And on today's episode, we will be giving our review of Spider-Man Far From Home. Whip, whip. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. The movie was fantastic. Go see it. A lot happened. People died. Buildings fell. And that's our review. Thank you for coming and seeing. No, I'm joking. But no, it was fantastic. I loved it. It was so much fun. I guess give our spoiler-free reviews first.
Spoiler-free review.
It's fantastic, spectacular, amazing, superior.
Spider-Man, Tom Holland is great as Peter Parker. He's the definitive Peter Parker.
Absolutely. Tobey Maguire's too nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Garfield was
like he always looked too old.
Yeah. He always looked like a grandpa, pretending to be a teenager, pretending to be a college student.
Yeah.
He's a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Andrew Garfield was too
chic,
cool.
I think the word chic works better. He was too chic. Like, first off, he's a really handsome dude, and he always had that "woe is me, I'm a model, but I don't want you to know I'm a model" look to him, and that always bugged me. Like, I loved him as Spider-Man though. Him as Spider-Man was fantastic. Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man seemed a bit forced.
Yeah, and he never quipped. He did like 2 quips in 3 movies.
Right, and it was like, haha, that was cute, I guess. But Tom Holland, the quips don't stop, first off. I think it's his way of dealing with, there it goes, excuse me. Oh, I apologize, that was a good one. But I think that's his way of dealing with all the serious shite he's in, is he just quips about it, you know, trying to downplay how scared he is. And that comes across so well to me.
Yeah.
He's so awesome. Like, Tom Holland as Peter Parker Spider-Man is perfect.
And
I really think that's... I'm sorry, I just keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, God, him as Mysterio.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal in his role is phenomenal. Where the story takes him, you buy it 100%. Like, you're like, okay. And every twist and turn that comes along the way, you're like, oh, whoa. But, yeah. Nick Fury is, bitch, you've been to space. Zendaya as MJ. I love her as MJ.
Her version of MJ is hilarious. And it also, for believability factors, like, she's a very attractive woman who I can totally see getting with Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you know, as much in the comics as they had him get with Mary Jane, it always seemed one of those out of his league. So, and it never really fully bought the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But
and this MJ, while she is beautiful, and how can I put this? Her mind and her macabre sense of humor is what takes the forefront. Is, you know, you can see she's a beautiful girl, but you don't pay enough attention to that because what's coming out of her mouth, you're like, wait, what did she just say?
And she's smart, which is what helps her keep up with Spidey, because you would really think that he'd want someone who would be close to his level, and she's close to his level. I'll tell you, there was a little, about 10, 15 minutes of the movie, it started slightly slow. And it had that odd, that you just had to work around, and it seemed to go away. It didn't seem to be like I got used to it, but it seemed to go away as the movie went on. But there was a little bit of the sense of, because these movies aren't filmed in real time, you could visibly see that Holland, all right, but really, the one I could tell it the most with was Ned. He, you could tell, was visibly older than he was in the last movie. And a little bit at the beginning, it was a little awkward. It sort of felt to me like the last 2 or 3 Harry Potter movies, where whenever Neville was getting goofed on, it didn't feel natural because he didn't seem like that goofy kid anymore. And it's sort of, the beginning it seemed like that for Ned, but then it went away early on. But for the very 10 minutes, it seemed for him, but with him it sort of seemed for everybody that it was the getting used to them back in the part. And again, these are 20, like when they're 20-year-olds playing teenagers now. Now they look much closer to teenagers than, especially the Tobey Maguire movies that was full of 25, 30-year-olds. So, I mean, they look a lot closer, but there was still a little bit, because they have aged, what's in 3 years since the last one? I don't remember when Homecoming was, but...
Yeah, 2 years, 2017.
It had an interesting position to be in, because Marvel starting with Avengers Age of Ultron, whenever Marvel put out the huge blockbuster, they would then follow it up with the more lighthearted fare, which was, it was what, Ant-Man, and then after Infinity War, we had the other Ant-Man, which took place before the snap.
During.
The very end was
the snap, so it took place during Infinity War.
Or it probably took place a couple of weeks. It could have taken place before. We don't know how long the distance was between them, the end of the normal movie, and them being on the rooftop. They could have had weeks. Who knows?
You right.
But it wasn't really until the snap at the end, it wasn't connected to, like, there was the little throwaway in the second one of Ant-Man having been to jail, so there were still a couple ties, but it wasn't directly connected to the events that just preceded it. Like, the original Ant-Man had no connection to Avengers. The second one was very lightly until the end, because...
Well, the first one did, because he fought Falcon.
I mean...
Like, dealing with what's going on in the Avengers.
Right, I'm dealing with the,
Yeah, you're right.
Dealing with all the fallout and all the... And that Avengers didn't end nearly as dark as the next one, Infinity War did.
Right.
But yeah, it was... And for that, it didn't start with that. And I think that's also why the Spider-Man movie felt a little slower at the beginning, is the difference between it and Ant-Man is he was fully, it's after the Endgame, fully immersed in that world, and he's coming back, and the beginning is still dealing with a lot of fallout of a lot of serious shit. So I think that's some of why it felt a little slow, because we were having to have the explanation of why some people are 5 years older than other people, and some of the spoilers from the events of End of Endgame that they were dealing with.
Okay, so spoiler free for me, fantastic. Like from the minute it started. All right, so spoilers.
Yep. So.
Spoilers. One of my favorite things is the best explanation they get for how people have changed is one of the kids that was in the original movie. It was the little Asian kid. Can't remember his name now. Brad. Was like 5 foot nothing, really skinny, awkward little kid. They come back and he's like 6 foot, super handsome. And they're like, this is what 5 years does for you.
most of Peter's class and relatives conveniently were all from the blip. Mm-hmm. So MJ, Ned, Flash, Liz.
What do we know about Liz?
Liz doesn't look 5 years older. She was in the first movie.
Liz. Betty.
Oh, Betty. Sorry,
Betty. Liz wasn't in this movie.
I'm getting names wrong today.
So they all conveniently went out blip. And like, if you haven't seen the preview for this movie, they're going on a summer.
Because I don't have my hat.
Yeah, where's your hat?
It's over there.
Do you need me? Want me to grab your hat?
Yeah.
I'll grab your hat. Oh, never mind. My wife's grabbing your hat. Oh, we have Angie behind the camera. Say hi, babe.
Hi, babe.
All right.
He feels his power return. So my favorite moment in the movie is
the Peter Tingle.
That's Angie's favorite moment. Angie's favorite moment is the Peter Tingle. No, my favorite moment.
You can dodge bullets, but you can't dodge a banana?
How does Peter Tingle really work?
Your favorite moment?
Oh, my favorite moment is when he gives Mysterio the glasses. That's my favorite moment. Because for a moment, they almost had me buying that Mysterio was the next Tony Stark. Like, he looked like him he looked like him. And I was like, could he be? Of course not, but...
One of the best parts was the pseudo... It's not even a retcon, but it's more putting in the pieces to show where Mysterio came from. Because they were able to tie him into the Marvel Universe in a way that I felt didn't feel forced at all. It was very natural. And the fact that he's bitter about his life's work being trivialized by Stark, and they flash back to Civil War where Tony Stark was using the holographic projections and he had called it BARF, and all they did was basically show a different angle of Tony Stark there where you see Quentin in the background being made fun of. That was because they had already introduced the holographic technology. That was a seamless way to really put it to how it could exist in this world. Tony Stark helped fund it in this world, and we've already seen that, like, when he made it such a joke about the name of it, you can see how someone would be pissed about their life's work being called BARF. So that worked seamlessly. There was a scientist in the group that you're just sitting there going,
he looks so familiar.
That guy looks familiar. And then they cut to showing that guy and where he came from. And if you've seen the first Iron Man movie, when Jeff Bridges is at the, what's it? I forget what it's called. The arc reactor. He's got the one scientist, and he's like, Tony Stark built this in a cave with spare parts. And then there's the little guy who's going, well, I'm not Tony Stark. They brought that guy back, the I'm not Tony Stark guy. And he's the one who's going, I'm bitter. And then and then Mysterio's crew is all people who've been wronged by Stark.
And their anger is justified because here they've poured all their knowledge and ideas into Tony Stark, and he leaves Peter with Edith, which is this tactical response supercomputer. They call it something else. I don't remember what they called it though. But basically, Edith is the glasses that Tony Stark wore. He gives to Peter, and it has access to everything.
And the explanation for the name Edith is hilarious.
It's very hilarious. Tony Stark says,
No, let them find that one out.
Okay, yeah, that one's hilarious though.
Yeah, but in the movie, when you find out why it's called Edith, it's pretty. You're like, yeah, that's Tony.
But so and I don't want to give too much away because there's a lot that happens that you're just like, oh, whoa. And it's just so exciting. Like, so exciting.
I was talking to him beforehand. I read a spoiler-free review where someone was saying there's a comic booky moment in this movie that's the most comic booky thing I've seen. And I was telling him how much hyperbole that just seems to be nowadays, because we've seen so much and everything's doing really well in the comic movies. We're getting all these visuals before. I don't know if it's fully the most comic booky thing I've seen, but it was a really cool sequence. Basically there's 5-10 minute sequence where Peter's stuck dealing with Mysterio and his illusions, and it's just really cool.
Really, really cool.
That had to have been a logistical nightmare.
Right?
Figuring all that out, but the way it was done, one of my favorite shots is in there where it cuts out of him and to Peter, where it looks like Peter's in a snow globe, and it keeps cutting back and he's actually in Mysterio's helmet.
That is very comic booky.
Yeah.
Like
I've seen it in one place before, similar, which was the Arkham Asylum video game when Scarecrow was doing similar like that. But I haven't seen anything else. In the movies, you haven't seen anything close to that kind of visual.
One of my favorite action sequence was towards the end when he's fighting all the drones. That was so Spider-Man. It shows how much Spider-Man has evolved with his powers, especially since Homecoming. Because if you remember in Homecoming, he was sure in his ability, but he wasn't sure in his ability with the suit. So he was always trying to depend on the suit to do stuff. Well, he has surpassed that now. He knows the suit is just a tool. And, I mean, it is awesome. When, you know what I'm talking about? He's swinging around.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. When he comes out looking like Captain America, that was amazing. Oh, God. So, I had to tell him, there's a scene where his webs don't work. He's ran out of webs, they broke, whatever, I don't care. But he's trying to figure out how to get up to Mysterio, and there's like 40 drones in his way. So he takes like the power core from a down drone, sets it to explode, ties it to a chain, picks up a road sign for the bridge they're on, and puts it on his arm like a shield, and comes out, and he looks like Captain America in Endgame with Mjolnir and his broken... It is amazing. And then the whole sequence from that point to when he gets to Mysterio, I'm literally on the edge of my seat. Like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, he is so Spider-Man in this. Flipping, flopping, twisting, turning, swinging. It was amazing. I was so happy.
Spectacular. Huh?
It was spectacular. Oh, it was great.
We've been asked, though, was it superior?
To me, it was. Look, I'm one of those people who, and I said it in my Facebook video. If you didn't see that, go check out our social media. We'll plug.
We have the Book of Face now.
Yes, I'm very biased when it comes to Marvel movies. I am a Marvel guy. I love Marvel. I love their heroes, their villains, everything about Marvel I like. So when their movies come out, they have an edge up. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So when I say this, it is completely biased. This is the best Spider-Man movie for me. How Peter and MJ interact. They're awkward high schoolers. It's not this, I love you, MJ, be mine. Oh, Peter. No, it is completely, you're sitting there, you're like, this is so...
I like you.
Yeah, I like you. Oh, I like you too. It's really awkward. You're just like, the fuck? And you're like, oh yeah, they're kids. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to express themselves fully yet. And so, like, by the end of the movie, you can see the bit of growth they've done as human beings to where they can admit they like each other and can move forward. Ned is great throughout this whole movie. Oh my God, he's the wise best friend who has a girlfriend. Spoiler. But I'm gonna leave that one alone. When you see how he gets a girlfriend, it's great. So for me, like, it shows Peter Parker as Peter Parker, wanting to be just Peter Parker and put Spider-Man to the side. And him coming to the realization towards the end of the movie that he can't. that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are one and the same, and he has to find a way to balance both. So to me, like, it's what the Tobey Maguire movies tried to do, but always came off as a little bit short. Like, you're like, okay, so now he's Spider-Man, he's happy with it. Then you start the next movie, you're like, okay, he's back to not being happy being Spider-Man. And this one, it shows that he won't ever be happy. Excuse me, he won't ever be happy in his role until he figures out exactly what that is. And he gets closer to it by the end of the movie. It's not there yet, but it's closer. That's my take. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. To me, it's the best Spider-Man movie. And again, I said I'm biased. I'm one of those people that when a new version of something comes out, I give it the benefit of the doubt. I start with a clean slate. I'm like, okay, so this isn't the Spider-Man that I've seen before. How's it going to be? Homecoming? Fantastic. So coming into this one, I'm like, okay, this isn't Homecoming. Let's see what they do with it. And I loved it. So that's me. What about you?
I loved it. One of the best things for this movie is it teaches people about blind faith. And it's something you can only do with a teenage version of Spider-Man, especially this one, since we've seen him being mentored, so he's used to, like Mel said, looking for that mentor figure. So he was very much in, oh, this guy's older, he's like Iron Man.
He's
fighting these elementals, and I can trust him, and he trusts too easily.
Mm-hmm.
Again and again and again throughout the movie, until he finally starts learning. I'm really curious to see, and we'll talk about more other reasons, because besides just that alone changing him would change him for the next movie, but there's other major things we'll talk about when we're finished with our review about the after credits scenes that really change everything. But Mysterio has always been one of my, I don't know if he was my favorite villain, but he's always one of my favorite designed villains in Spider-Man world. And I've always loved the fishbowl head. I was always like, I remember as a kid, it was one of my favorite toys from the animated Spider-Man movie, where he actually had the little pouch on his back, and it would spray water out of the little eyes on his cape. But I like that one. I have another more, it's not a Marvel Legend, which I know they made one recently, but I remember there was one from a decade ago that fit with the Marvel Legends scale that I really enjoyed. But I've always liked Mysterio as a character, and they did him completely right.
Mm-hmm.
I like all the pump fakes that in this movie, not just, even if you know especially for geeks who know the lore and they see some pieces of the trailer where he's talking about, I'm from a different dimension, Earth, blah, blah. And anyone who saw Spider-Man Into the Multiverse back last year, everyone has become way more accepting of multiple realities, multiple dimensions. So everyone was we were fine with that being the explanation. And then when they're having a discussion and one of the guys on his team is like, and you, for coming up with the other dimension crap, people believe anything, and you were right, good job.
Yep.
It was pretty great. The one thing, the majority of people I've seen love the movie. I've heard some people criticisms. We've had this discussion before where not all movies are made for everyone. Now they try to be made for the majority of people because they want as many people as they can to enjoy it, because they want people to keep coming back and spend their money. But I feel that too many people want the Spider-Man who's sewing together his outfit, scrounging to try and get enough material to make his web shooters, just having a rough time. And that's where some people seem to be sad. Like, that's not the Peter Parker I knew. You've had that Peter Parker.
Exactly.
Multiple times. We've seen it. You can go back and rewatch that. What I liked is the way they have updated him while keeping him true to his core. He's still Peter Parker. He still has the Parker luck. Like,
let me go get that pulpit ready. He's preaching, y'all.
When we get to, I will probably, at the very end, we'll start saying where it's about to go. The after credit scene really shows the Parker luck. But he, when he was in the one kid tried to blackmail him because he was changing his outfit in the room with the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and the guy got a photo of it, and he keeps trying to talk to MJ about stuff or planning stuff. He wants to have a fun trip with his kids, and he keeps getting dragged into all this huge superhero nonsense. That's all the Parker luck. What I like about him is he's smarter than most people. Again, one of your favorite quotes from the movie, which is true for the character of Spider-Man. Everyone seems to forget that in the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man is one of the most intelligent characters in that world. He's not Mr. Fantastic level. We were debating earlier whether or not he's quite at Tony Stark level. They're close. He might not be quite as smart, but he's close to it. But when he's in the room with Mysterio and Fury, and Parker picks up on all the other dimension stuff, and he starts babbling about it, science geek talk about parallel dimensions. He then stops himself and apologizes, and Mysterio is just like, never apologize for being the smartest man in the room.
It's my favorite line in the movie. Like, because you see Peter's like, man, you're right. And I think that's that moment right there is the first time he started viewing Mysterio as closer to Tony. He started viewing him in the same lights. With that line, he looked at him and was like, man, that's something Mr. Stark would have said. But yeah, absolutely. And I agree. And I think a big problem, and where I was just saying that I view every, new movie with a clean slate, most people can't. They want, I wanted to do this like this movie did, or I want them to make sure that they get this part like this because that's what I liked. And they forget that, and I think it's a big problem with our generation and older, is people forget that it isn't just made for us. It's made to include everyone and try to make the best product across all generations so everyone can enjoy it. So while you might not like the fact that he's teamed up with Stark or he's Stark's star pupil, that resonates with people because he is a hero surrounded by other heroes.
Yeah, that's the big difference between this movie and the previous ones is he's been placed in a world where there have been superheroes doing their thing for almost a decade by the time he first
since he was a kid
popping around. Yeah. They retconned to say that the little kid in the Iron Man helmet in Iron Man 2 is supposedly Peter. They never could find a way to put it in the movie I was reading, but that is something that they kind of believe. And it's just like, that little kid, that's Peter. He's always... And so, yeah, he's lived in that world. It's not... Every other movie, he's the only superhero. Like, it's one of those... Before the MCU, every superhero movie basically was its own bubble, and everybody... in that world, that's where the hero and villain were. There weren't others, and that's not how the connected Marvel Universe is. And to be fair, in the last 17 years, we've seen Uncle Ben get shot and killed technically 3 times because it was a major plot point of Spider-Man 3. Mm-hmm. We don't need to see it again. Everyone knows that.
And they do put nods to Uncle Ben's sacrifice. Like in the first movie, they don't say it outright, but we know that's why he's out as Spider-Man. We know, because he says, I worry about May because she's been through so much already. We know why she's been through so much. So now we need to talk about where we go from here, because a lot of big things happen at the end of the movie and in the after credits and mid credits scene that we're just like,
This movie was like the Ant-Man's. Once you got past the initial where it had to touch on Infinity War, it got into the more, it was still serious, but more lighthearted and fun. It's following a teenager on a road trip with his friends in Europe while all the bad stuff's happening. The Ant-Man movies were the palate cleansers, and they fully ended that way. Whereas, like, the Ant-Man movie had a teaser for Civil War, but that never seemed as dark. And as it wasn't as world-changing.
Right.
It was just, Ant-Man is going to appear in that movie, basically,
exactly.
was what that was. It wasn't a change to his story so much. His story got changed in that movie where he got arrested. But the second Ant-Man movie, it ended like everyone, like, with the snap. But that was because everyone already knew it was happening, so his world had to connect up, so it was sad to see a bunch of those characters get snapped, but you kind of, if connecting it in, it wasn't something that was out of left field. Now, Spider-Man Far From Home, after credit scenes,
changes everything.
Out of left field. This is the end of Phase 3 of the Marvel movies. Basically, after Infinity War, we haven't had any teasers for anywhere else where the Marvel Universe is going. We know, they're filming a Black Widow movie. Everyone thinks it's a prequel because of Infinity War, or Endgame. Who knows if it ends up being an alternate world or they find a way to bring her back. Who knows? But we know that's coming. We have a couple movies that we know are in the pipeline, but we don't know any of what they're actually doing to shape the universe. We had no story beat going into it. Now we do. Multiple ones. First we'll get with the mid-credits scene, where they've really played up, and Peter's accepting the glasses at the end, and that's his sort of, he's not really stepped into fully the Tony Stark role, but he's at least, you feel it's something that's along the way. Like, some of the last scenes are him happy, and he's actually swinging through the city with MJ. Mm-hmm. And so and
she hates it.
Yeah.
Hold on, pause. That's one thing that I have to acknowledge. And me and Buddha were talking about this after we saw the movie. Every time, in every movie we see Spider-Man swing with somebody, they're having the time of their life. It's the most amazing thing. Let's be real. If a man who's 5'8", 160 pounds, picks you up and starts swinging you through the city on a spider web, it's not going to be a good time. You're going to be petrified. And they got that right. MJ, oh my God, we're never doing that again. Scared to death. And that's what would happen. You're like, I trust you, Peter, but no. And I love that. I was like, yes, that's what it would be. Like, you better web me up to your ass and hold on for dear life. Don't swing me around. He's just holding like this, like, hey, you like it? Like, you can barely control yourself. How you can control another body? I'm sorry.
Right after he was texting and swinging.
Yeah, and he was I'm off. But yeah, it's just out of this world. So,
that scene, the mid-credit scenes ends with him, like, because the movie ended with him swinging her through the town, and then the mid-credits opens up with him setting her down, her freaking out at him, and then the television screens, I guess they were
Jumbotron.
Jumbotron in Times Square or whatever, and they changed everything in a minute or less worth of time. So it's a video made by
thedailybugle.net.
Yep.
And it's not like the classic Daily Bugle, it's a magazine. No, it's more of a InfoWars type.
Alex Jones, similar.
Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson has finally been revealed. since we haven't seen him in the movies since Spider-Man 3. Mm-hmm. And Marvel did the... This might change our future fan castings, because Marvel did it first, where Marvel cast the character of J. Jonah Jameson with someone who has already played J. Jonah Jameson.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
It's J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU.
They made him look a bit different. They made him... He's still got the... goatee, but he's bald. He's got the hair on the sides. That he looks more like Alex Jones, who they're making fun of. And...
he has an exclusive video from the death of the hero Mysterio.
And the hero Mysterio puts all the blame for the attacks on London and has some videos of the drones on Spider-Man. And
reveals him as Peter Parker. And it's really cool how they do it, because first, Mysterio doesn't reveal his illusion. Though people saw it, he still keeps up that there were elementals attacking, and he was able to send them back through the gate. But then Spider-Man attacks him with the drones. And he's like, Spider-Man is really Pete, and it cuts off. And you're like, oh man, that would have been crazy. Then comes right back, and he's like, Peter Parker, and shows a picture of Peter. And so that's how it ends. It's Peter going, what the f... and it cuts out.
Ending with the Parker luck.
Yeah, the Parker luck. So what does this mean for the MCU? Well...
what does it mean for Peter and his next movie?
Because we have to acknowledge a couple things. One is Peter, anyone associated with him, are going to be viewed as criminals. Two, it's going to have to be acknowledged that Peter now has access to a tactical response system created by Tony Stark. And he is using it for villainy.
Now, we don't know if this threads are going to be in the next Spider-Man movie, or if there's going to be another group movie that comes before the next solo, and it could be resolved there. We don't know. Comic-Con is coming up soon. Phase 3. This was the only actual movie we knew on it. Everything else past this, we only know dates for movies. No actual what movie's coming out when. So some of that might be revealed soon.
Right. But again, this is a great way to end Phase 3 and begin Phase 4. Is you Peter's outed as Spider-Man and is viewed as a criminal. Classic Spider-Man storyline.
Everything except for everybody knowing his identity.
Yeah.
That was the one when they did that in the comics, that was on his own terms. Mm-hmm. But it's very much in keeping with the MCU, because the MCU has not been big on secret identities since the beginning, which is interesting because the original plan was for them. The original plan, the original Iron Man, that whole... the bodyguard suit, that was the actual... He was supposed to go up and say all that. Robert Downey Jr., because a lot of that movie was ad-libbing or coming up on the fly, he went up there and he's just like, I am Iron Man. That was just done by him. And Kevin Feige loved it. And that's what they went with. We don't need the secret identity. It's fine. We'll just have him as the guy. So, from an ad-lib, we've now had... not an ad-lib, what's the word? Improv. From improv on the part of Robert Downey, we've had this, we don't really care about secret identities so much in this world.
And if you think about it, who has a secret identity aside from Peter? Nobody.
Yeah. He was basically it, and there was enough good reason why the teenage boy would want a secret identity.
Exactly.
But now he's outed. We have no idea where they're going to go with that story.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. Now.
Man, having Osborn be the head of the trying to hunt him down.
Ooh. Oh, so I think the definite next movie will have is Spider Slayers.
Or Sinister Six.
Or Sinister Six.
Like, this is the people we're going to send after him getting the
And
team.
I think that'll be Marvel's version of Suicide Squad. That's great, though. Like,
if they did it from the view of the villains with Spider-Man just them after him the whole movie, that'd be ballsy.
That'd be ballsy.
Oh man, that'd be cool though.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Feige, hit us up, homie. We got more ideas. But now we get to the end credit scene, which was another just like, wait, what the? And that was, now let me give a little backstory. So throughout this whole movie, throughout the whole Mysterio reveal and what happens with him, Nick Fury's there for all of this. And throughout the whole movie, it's bugging me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I'm like, this is Nicholas J. Fury. He knows everything. He knows, he trusts nothing and no one. But he put all his chips in on Mysterio. And I couldn't figure out why. And like, he makes a line in the movie that I'm like, maybe. He's like, 5 years ago, I knew everything. He's like, I come back and I know nothing. So I'm assuming that he's trying to build up his network again, and he's using Mysterio to do so. But it just didn't sit right with me, because it's obvious that Mysterio's not what he says he is. Well, after something. But so at the end of the end credit scene, we see Mysterio and Maria Hill riding in their car, and they shapeshift. And they're Skrulls. And they're not just any Skrulls, they're Telos and his wife from Captain Marvel.
I like him as a good guy.
Yeah,
it's so entertaining.
I really like the Skrulls as good guys. But
spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler.
I feel to note, and we might want to start saying at the beginning when we do Marvel spoiler movies, but when we're doing a movie spoiler for the new Marvel movie, spoilers for any of the Marvel movies are fair game because they're all connected.
Right. So it revealed that throughout this whole movie, Nick Fury was Telos and Maria Hill was his wife. And there was a scene where they revealed that. I can't remember, but when they were in the office, her eyes changed. Maria Hill has brown eyes.
Yeah.
Her eyes were blue throughout the whole movie.
Huh.
I picked it up at the end. I was like, why are her eyes blue? It's Kobe Smolder's eyes are brown. They've always been brown in the movies. It's because she was a Skrull. But, so they're like, you need to call him. Because that whole thing, Nick Fury wouldn't get duped by Mysterio. Let's be honest. He wouldn't get duped by Mysterio.
So Telos makes a phone call, says, yeah, I gave him the glasses and all that. And then we cut to the other side where we see Fury with a very obvious sort of blue screen beach where he's on, like, he's just relaxing. And then when he stands up, it reveals he's in a room and the beach shimmers and it goes to being just an image wall. And he's in a very high-tech area, and then he walks out and he's just calling for different people.
Back to work!
Yep, back to work. Somebody find my slippers. And he's on an alien world now.
He's with Skrulls. Skrulls are everywhere.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going on with that. It's probably Captain Marvel 2.
Did you notice, and it's funny now that it's Talos, the line earlier in the movie when where they set up something for the later Captain Marvel movie?
Crease lever cells?
No.
Because they asked about that.
That wasn't no, that's not the part. It's a line he gives to Peter that actually sets up for more.
Don't invoke her name?
Yep. I don't know. There's a very good. I feel that there's a decent chance that if we get another Captain Marvel movie, that it still might be before Infinity War because she's off with the Skrulls, doing whatever. And yeah, when Spider-Man brings up, well, why don't you call Captain Marvel? Fury, which was Talos now, goes, don't invoke her name. So did she piss him off so bad in some way?
Hmm.
But again, so
like we don't know.
So it's basically they were calling Fury to sort of like, we don't have Avengers, we kind of need it, and so Fury is now off world,
Probably trying to assemble the team.
Yeah.
So here's my question: is with that reveal, are they doing Secret Invasion? But with the other mention of Kree sleeper cells, I can't remember where they meant, but Maria Hill said something about Kree sleeper cells. Are they doing the Secret Invasion?
It might have been when they were first in the car.
Yeah. Are they the Kree is invading Earth and the Skrulls are there to stop it with Nick Fury?
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Because it's putting a twist on the comic storyline. So if you know the comic storyline, Secret Invasion, Skrulls had invaded and taken the place of many people on Earth, especially important people and heroes. And it was revealed, like it's a whole big storyline. It led into Dark Reign. It was great. But the Skrulls were the bad guys. So I'm wondering if this time they're twisting it up because the Kree haven't been used much, except for Captain Marvel.
And Guardians.
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And they're always clearly the bad guy.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's some in Captain Marvel where you see that, like, some of the normal people on the planet are, like, just, they're not bad, but the military and government versions of the Kree is the bad guys.
I think that's a good place to wrap.
Yeah.
Again, we love the movie. Like, subscribe, share, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Roth and Romelio.
We're going to be working on doing more little videos on all those. If you haven't seen, check out. We did a couple little real quick thoughts on the movie.
I just woken up when I did mine.
Yeah. I had just gotten home, was getting ready for bed, but I was like, I think we need to get something up right away.
Right, and he's like, you don't do anything? I'm like, no, I'm going to bed. So, but with that being said, I'm going to start doing something I didn't tell you because I didn't need to. But I'm going to start doing something. I haven't decided on which one yet, but I'm going to start doing Moments with Mel, where just anything nerd that pops in my head that I'm thinking about, I'm just going to do a video on it.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You're weird. But, yeah, so join us next week for a little more R&R with R&R. He's Roth.
He's Romelio.
And we'll see y'all next week. Bye. So I couldn't find my Spider-Man shirt. Thought I washed it, but apparently I washed my Hulk shirt, not my Spider-Man shirt. So I don't have a Spider-Man shirt. Spiderman does whatever Spider can.
So, welcome
to R&R with R&R. Start over.
I think you need to drink your Monster.
No, I'm good.
Now I feel like we're doing an ad for Monster if you start talking all upbeat.
Welcome to another episode of Ramblings and Randomness. He comes across as a hero. Like, you can buy this guy as being a hero. And
that is probably slightly spoilery.
Spoiler.
Don't mention him in the role. Don't mention hero or villain.
Okay, so
where were we?
I was giving my explanation.
You already gave yours.
I'm not done.
You said you was.
I know. But yeah, so much. And then in this movie, when he's packing his suitcase and he closes it, it says BJP on it. You know, I don't know if you know what BJP is, but I'm pretty sure it's Benjamin. I don't know his middle name. Probably Jerome. I like Jerome. Benjamin Jerome Parker.
It's probably Jonathan.
Probably. But I like Jerome.